So my name is Kathy Smith, and I am your channel manager. And I cover Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama. And I live over in the Tampa Bay area. And I just flew over this morning, so very happy to be here. And I'd like to introduce Steve Aversano. He is our sales manager here in the Fort Lauderdale area. He has a sales team. So what we do is we do a sell together, sell with module with our partners. And he's here to go over our program. There you go.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually loving the weather. It's been really awesome, not hot. I think we had a very long, hot summer. So I know you guys aren't here to resell pens and paper, so I'm going to shift the conversation from Office Depot to CompuCom and give you a little bit of a story around, who they are and what they do and why they do it, and really what's in it for you at the end of the day, because that's why you're here. Each and every one of you has a business, and you're trying to figure out how to expand that business, make it more profitable, and continue to earn your living. So I want to give you some information to help you decide whether or not we can be a good partner for you guys, and vice versa. So thanks for your time today. If you have any questions, just raise your hand and I'll stop what I'm doing and answer the best I can. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself first in the way of introductions. So I live in South Florida. I've been here for about 16 years, so I think I'm an official Floridian now, originally from New York City. I live in Davie, have a wife and 2 boys, and I started my technology career in telecom, very similar to a lot of folks in the channel. I spent 17 years in the same company. It started off as MCI WorldCom, shifted down to bankruptcy, came out as MCI, was acquired by Verizon. Then we did a reverse integration with Terramark, a local company here that some folks may be familiar with, very big into cloud computing, data center infrastructure. Was there in a sales team for about 5 years, and then did a great thing of take a severance package. It's a wonderful thing. You never heard of it before, you should try it. And I decided to get into flipping houses because I really like real estate. Real estate was a passion of mine, and I had a whole lot of fun selling houses, and it was, I envy everybody in this room because you're all entrepreneurs, and that was my first stab at stopping the paycheck, even though I had the severance, which was a good cushion, but you still got to get out there and hustle and make it. You're not coming home to a daily paycheck. So I did that until I got a call from this young gentleman over here, this guy over here looking at me. He's like, "Hey, are you looking to get back into coming to work?" And I'm like, "Not really, I'm kind of having fun." He's like, "No, you should come hear about this company." He came over as a sales architect to CompuCom, and he's like, "Steve, you're really going to like what they're doing in the small business space." And I was always an enterprise guy, and that's kind of where the money was, right? Not that many small businesses you could make a lot of money off of. So I say, "Hey, let me take a look at it." And when I took a look at it, I was really impressed with what they were doing and the value that it brought to these small companies. When you're helping out a big business, it's like great, you made that guy, make his number or whatever, but when you're helping a small business grow their business, there's a lot more in it. So I decided to join the team 6 months ago, and so that's a little bit about myself. I'll get into why Office Depot and CompuCom came together and what that means to you guys. So Jerry Smith is the CEO of Office Depot. He's a technology guy, just like me, and when they were, retail was not really the spot to be in the last few years, as everybody knows. And so they brought a technology guy in, and his quote is, "Technology is the office place of the future. It's the office supply of the future." Before it was pens and pencils. Now you're using Microsoft Dynamics, SharePoint, Active Directory, Office 365. These small businesses now have tools that they could use, but they don't really have somebody to help them use those tools or know that they're out there. So they went ahead and decided that, let's figure out how to be that support mechanism for those folks and make that part of our business plan. And so they acquired CompuCom about a year ago and started to, and actually the interesting component of that is CompuCom's a $1 billion technology company that nobody's ever heard of. And I'll get into why that is in a second. And so, these are just like those credibility slides, why CompuCom is so great based on Gartner, et cetera. For the last 15 years, CompuCom went after the enterprise. They only supported the Fortune 500. Anybody smaller than that, they didn't go after. There wasn't enough money in it. Except about 3 years ago, they also saw the vision of these small businesses and applications going to the cloud, and these small businesses needing technology that they didn't need before, and somebody needed to support that. So they started this small SMB group within inside of CompuCom to help those small businesses And that's actually why Office Depot bought this billion-dollar company, for the small business group within inside of them to help the big part of Office Depot's revenue stream comes from small and medium business. So these are some credibility slides as to why, what Gartner says about us, or the customers that we support. We have millions of devices under support, millions of users. We have 6,000 field techs that are our techs in the United States. I'll get into that. 6 of the top 10 Fortune 50 are our customers, 7 of the top 10 retailers, 6 of the top 10 financial firms. So these are all like, here's all these other people that trust us, some brands. This is why you should trust us too. Here's some of the smaller clients that we have. And then, if you look at this map, it looks like an eye chart, but this is where our techs have been in the last 90 days. So if you think about it, IT is ever evolving and people always need somebody somewhere to fix something. We have those techs. It's one of the things that helps us be successful at who we are and what we do. But I will tell you, the industry is shifting from I need somebody to go and fix something and press keyboards at Jake's desk to I can just log into his machine, change some things, fix some things, and be done. And that's a much more cost-effective model than sending out a tech. A tech's much more expensive. I can do that really quickly and cheaply with US-based support. So this is a little bit about the sales team and where you guys can have sales support locally. My territory is actually that green. They call it the Midwest, but I consider it the Southeast. Where you see the people there, the dots, that's where we have when we go to market. So since we're a startup within this big company, we go to market and we say, okay, this market's good for us. Let's plant a sales architect, a salesperson, and of all those dots that you saw, of all those technicians, we're going to rebrand that technician to a small business technician. And when we do that, we look at certain criteria that is more conducive for somebody sitting with a doctor, a CEO, versus working with GE or JP Morgan's IT department. It's a different quality of person. You need to be somebody that's personable, can actually fix more things because you're not working with an IT department. You're working directly with an end user that needs it fixed right now. So when we go to market, that's what we do in each one of those markets. Outside of that market, we can get support. It's not a problem for us, but this is how we're going to market. I just wanted you guys to kind of understand that as you're looking at, how could I increase my business and who can I partner with? Those are the areas that we have a real strong presence. Sorry. Is there any questions before I? Yeah.
Do you guys specialize in any particular verticals, like for example, healthcare?
So healthcare is actually pretty big for us because this is the thing, the people that are willing to spend money on technology do it for a reason. And healthcare, you all know there's HIPAA, right? HIPAA is a compliance that they need to meet. So that'll drive their need to spend money to make sure that they're in compliance. So HIPAA, we have a lot of customers that need HIPAA enablement or HIPAA compliance. So they're the ones that would be willing to spend money. So we definitely have a lot of HIPAA clients. We don't really specialize in a vertical. We're fixing computers. And whoever wants to make sure that their systems are up and running, we provide support for that. Does that make sense? So if they have PCI compliance or HIPAA compliance, they're more compelled to need a managed service and not just get by because they have some things that make that a reality. Make sense? All right. Any other questions? So this is the reason why you guys are here. Why partner with us, right? So, I came from the telecom industry, and there's no secret that the telecom revenue is continuing to go down, right? Sure, there's more of it, but the cost per network circuit is going down over and over again, right? And what does that mean to the channel agents? It means that their pockets are going to get less and less money unless they get more and more clients. The other challenge is that it's no secret these big telecom giants are getting out of the small business space, and they're also not supporting them, right? It's like billing issues and service issues. They're pushing that all off to the channel, right? They don't want to do that stuff anymore, and that puts a big burden on your back office support. When your revenue stream is shrinking and your back office support is going up, it makes it challenging to be profitable in your space. So one of the things that we can do that's of value to you guys I'm going to get into our service, which is ITaaS and MAS. It's really IT as a service and Meraki as a service, which is more like firewalls, switches as a service. But what we can do for you guys is, one is, of course, increase the revenue stream that you have, but more importantly, we do vendor management. So if that circuit is down, we're monitoring that network. We're going to call Comcast or Verizon on the customer's behalf with LOA, call them up and say, hey, circuit's down, I need you to get somebody out here. That alleviates the burden from you guys having to do that. And more importantly, it gets your customer back up and running quickly. So it helps in both of those things. From a back office support, we are pretty much a white glove service. We provide account management. Once you sell our service, even my team, we're pure upfront sales. We sell it, the account managers take over. It's a white glove service. We don't really do much as a sales team. We got to go on to the next one. That's how we operate and function. From a, VoIP is definitely on the rise. Hosted VoIP, it's a good opportunity for everybody in this room or folks that are concentrated in that space to continue to get revenue stream out of that. The challenge sometimes for VoIP is, the network is not on par to deploy VoIP, or they need a tech refresh. Or if there's an issue with the local network, they're going to point fingers at the VoIP provider. You guys all experienced that, I'm sure. And they go, hey, this is not working out right. So what we can do is we can help set up the network so that it's solid, and then we do the ongoing caring feeding of that network so there are no issues on the network that are going to cause the customer to feel like there's a problem with their VoIP. And at the same time, you guys can make money doing that. The tech refresh component is also a challenge in both SD-WAN and VoIP. Is, okay, you want to roll out SD-WAN? Well, you need all new routers or switches or firewalls. Well, that's a lot of money. Oh, I can't afford that capital expenditure right now, but I really like the savings that I'll get from SD-WAN. So, what we do is we offer them, the network as a service, the components that they'd have to go buy and put on their books. We provide it in a rental model, and it's really, really inexpensive. And I have a lot of partners that are really killing it, just basically going and letting us refresh the network components, the hardware components, at a really, really low monthly rate, not on the customer's books, and it's enabling them to sell their network component, and they're getting paid on the service model that we're delivering for them. So that's really.
Are you doing the SD-WAN through the Meraki firewall?
Say again, I'm sorry?
Are you doing the SD-WAN through the Meraki firewall?
Yes, we are.
With high availability?
Yep, absolutely. For the folks that don't know, Meraki is a pretty awesome solution for the SMB space. It has a lot of feature and functionality. And if you're an SMB, typically you can't find folks that can help you with that stuff. That's the benefit of scale for like a CompuCom. We have the resources and the abilities to take advantage of those new technologies that are out there that people don't have the wherewithal to know how to set up and manage on an ongoing basis. Cloud adoption is on the rise, and I talk to a lot of partners that are like, Steve, I'd like to be part of this cloud journey, but I don't know how to do it. My team can actually help those folks, like train you, help you get a good understanding of what's happening in the cloud space, why all these small businesses would benefit from like Office 365 and SharePoint and Active Directory and all these other technologies that can enable their business to grow that they didn't have access to before, because they'd have to spend thousands of dollars on software, they'd have to spend thousands of dollars to find somebody to manage it, put it on hardware. It would be really, really complicated, and they couldn't afford it. Now it's $5 a user, it's really inexpensive, and it could really enable their business not to have files everywhere, not know where they are, not have them backed up, not have access to that file when they need it. So this is really on the rise, and we resell Microsoft Office 365, SharePoint, Azure, and that's stuff that you guys would all get paid on as well. So we'll help customers through that journey from where they're at today to where they could be to help their business, and we do that together. Any questions so far? Good? Rowdy bunch, man, you guys. We gotta get some drinks going in this room. Whoops. Okay, so real life examples. People are using UCAS. I haven't used UCAS. I don't know how long I got out of the Telecom, but we had an agent that was selling UCAS to a client, kind of similar scenario. They just mentioned, hey, who's managing our IT stuff? And like, oh, actually, we need, just by saying that, next thing you know, they're taking their $2,000 sale and they're adding $4,200 to it. And within 30 days, we close that deal out really quickly. What you'll find is when customers are in need, we close deals really, really quickly with our customers. And it's like buying a mattress. If you feel like you need a new mattress, maybe you put it off. But when you really feel like you need it, you're going to go buy it. It's that point. We need you guys to know when that point is, so you could just say, hey, come on in here. These guys, they're ready. Their current provider is doing a terrible job. They're miserable. You guys have a much better service. Let's go talk to them. And those deals go really quickly. The next one is a kind of what I described before from a VoIP standpoint. One of my partners in Georgia, they were selling a VoIP solution, and the LAN cost was to refresh the LAN was $80,000 for like 7 locations. And we basically came in at $2,000 a month. Not only did we provide the hardware, but we install it and do the ongoing management of it. It was just a no-brainer for the client. Otherwise, that VoIP deal would have never happened. And now they got their VoIP deal and an additional $2,000 in revenue that they made money on. So pretty good stuff. Okay, so now what is it that I'm talking about? What is Manage IT and Meraki as a service? So I like pictures. So at the top is really like the Network Operations Center where we have our techs, and that's in Fort Mill, South Carolina. If most of you guys have ever called into a help desk and you get the, oh, let me help you, hold on, you can't understand what they're saying from wherever country they're from, I don't care where they're from, you just need to be able to understand what they're saying. And then they're like, oh, I could reset your password, or I can't, that's it, let me find somebody else to help you. That's the typical experience that you'll get with a help desk. Not with our help desk. With our help desk, it's all US-based, English-speaking, little South Carolina twang to it, but they're all tier 2 engineers, which means that they're not there to just reset passwords and then find somebody else. They are that somebody else. So that customer experience that they get, I was at a client 2 weeks ago, and I was sitting down with the CFO, and he's miserable with his support that he's getting from our competitor. So during our sales presentation, I said, hold on a second, call this number. And I had the CFO, who's actually an Oracle DBA, which I didn't know. He calls the 800 number, we get one of the techs on the phone, and I said, just ask him a question. I'll say, hey, look, I'm on a sales call. I just want you to show him what he would get. Who are you? What do you do? And he asked him a really cool, the CFO actually asked him a really pretty deep technical question. I was impressed. And our guy just hit it out of the park. And the guy's like, you sold me right there. Because that, you could call 24/7, 7 days a week and have support. Hey, I can't figure out what to do with this Word document. Whatever the need that they have right at that specific moment, usually they don't have somebody to call. It's like asking somebody else. This is all you can eat, 24/7, access to tier 2 engineers, clear English-speaking folks. May not be good for our Miami folks down here, but for everywhere else in the country. We do have a couple of Spanish-speaking folks. I was just kidding. So basically you have this great network center that you can answer the phone 24/7 and help give them support when they need it, as they need it, wherever they are. The other thing that we do is we'll install agents, like most other managed service providers. We install agents on their devices so that if they are having a problem, we could log into their machine. We also do some like care and feeding to that machine, patching and updates and some other stuff. We'll put antivirus on there. We'll do everything to maintain and care for that device that a true managed service provider will do for them proactively. And then if something happens where they need reactive help, they call the help desk. And if the help desk can't fix it remotely and it needs to be a hardware dispatch, we'll basically call the vendor. If you have Dell or HP or whoever, if you have a warranty with them, Cisco, we're gonna call them on your behalf. We're gonna dispatch our tech out there to install that physical hardware, get that laptop or device up and running, and get them back into support, because that's all they really care about. So overall, that's our managed IT as a service. There's a lot.
What's the on-site SLA?
It kind of depends. It's next day. But remember I showed you that kind of map, that region there where we have our SMB techs? If it's right there where they are, it's going to be really quick, but it's next business day.
No, it's actually 4 hours. It's critical.
If it's 4 hours, it's critical. There you go.
One other thing to take into consideration, a lot of these larger IT shops will have a remedy or a heat platform, so they'll do some internal, calling, et cetera, tier 2 help desk. But they've got remote locations that are kind of pains in the butt because they're always calling in with, minor questions. So this platform could be used for that application as well. And that would free up their internal people, right, to accept the calls that are of more major consideration, that have to do with the databases, that have to do with, the CRMs, et cetera.
What Jake is saying, for the bigger clients out there, they may already have their own internal help desk and they don't want to outsource, but they want to offload some of the high volume stuff that they can't support anymore because it's too much for them. So they'll look to a company like us to offload that stuff, and we'll take the first call. And then if it's more than password resets and some other functionality, we're going to transition it back to their team to handle. That's really what the bigger CompuCom does, but we can do it for your customers if they need it, is what Jake was mentioning. So here's basically, this is a pie chart of stuff that, everything that comes with our service. And we offer it in 3 different bundles, and we actually have the prices listed on our website. We're not like trying to hide any costs there. It's $49 a month, it's $39 a month, $49 a month, and $99 a month. And these are additive, so you start with the left side is really just desktop. As you shift over to the right, it becomes more than desktop. It becomes the network. It becomes, your iPads, your phones, every other device that you offer some enhanced security around, email, spam filtering, and stuff like that. And then as you get further to the right, it includes a tech. There's no additional costs anytime a tech comes out. You could schedule a tech to be on site for a day to do stuff. There's no extra cost for the tech to come on site. That's kind of the differences between the 3 packages. But my team would go out and sit with the client, have a business consulting discussion with them to really understand what do they have, what's important to them, and then help figure out which is the right package for them along with you folks, because we work together. So that would be a discussion that we have based on an assessment of what they have and what's important for them. We don't want to oversell them or undersell them either way, right? That make sense? Good? All right, cool. I think my next guests are like telling me to hurry up or something. No, we're good? Just kidding. Okay, so Meraki as a service. So just to give you an idea, like we offer, I don't know, it's hard to see, but on top is basically the monthly cost of us managing it, $5 for something really basic, and then $20 a month to manage it. I came from Verizon. It was $150 to manage a router, right? So that's really, really inexpensive. And then more importantly, instead of them having to buy that physical firewall router integrated security device, right, Raul? It's $35 a month on the low end and $45 on the higher end. And that means they don't have to spend $2,000 for that device. They're just paying a monthly fee, and it makes it so much easier. If they want to open up a new office or they want to open up a new warehouse, they can just get our firewalls, our access points, our switches, and they don't have to come out of pocket of $15,000 in CapEx or $20,000 in CapEx. They could use that for other stuff that's more important to run their business. So this stuff's pretty cool for you guys to be in front of your customers with.
Are you guys doing the install of
Yes.
the wireless access points and
Yeah.
the firewall?
Yeah, we're doing everything, yeah. Just, you got to consider us a full IT outsource for the clients, right? So they come to us for all their technology needs, basically. So we have to help them, even if it's find other software that can help run their business. We're going to sit down with them and say, well, based on what we see you doing, like we were at a chiropractor's office last week, and they're running this application called Chiro. So like, okay, I asked Raul, let's do some research to find, do they offer it as a service? So he doesn't have a server sitting under his desk that goes down, and he can't access his patients from wherever he wants. So I said, hey, Raul, let's research what other software is out there for this client, and if Chiro is the best one. And does that integrate with Clover, their POS system? No, but they have something else. And then we go back and sit down with them and say, here's what we found. Now, we don't sell the stuff. We're just trying to help them, understand what technology is out for them. Sorry.
Can you quantify the small business space that you're in, or do you have
Yeah.
your end users, your end users?
I actually, I do. You were looking at my slides. You had another question before I get.
On the equipment, on the SD-WAN, or
Yep.
anything on-site switches, computers, would they lease that, or was that a line item monthly with you guys?
It's a monthly rental. It doesn't go on their books. They could buy it if they want. Like, we're not in the business of selling hardware. We're in the business of managing IT. Right? So if they want to buy hardware and that you guys want to sell it to them, I don't really care. This is really an enabler. If they didn't want to spend the money and they don't like CapEx, this is a great way to go, and it's really inexpensive. It's actually cheaper to rent it, which is not normal. I guess because of the managed service on top of it, we subsidize it, but it's cheaper. All right?
And we can work with their existing equipment. If, let's say they have
Yeah.
Sierra Wireless and, out there already, they don't need any more access points, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll manage those too.
We'll bring it in, manage it as well.
Yeah, we do manage takeover on their stuff, as long as it's not, within reason.
Yes. Question, have you guys made any further progress with utilizing the Office Depot side of things as far as like the paper, pens, things like that? Have you guys, is that still baking?
So they're baking a cake called Business Services, or they call it Workonomy, and they've like officially launched that probably about 2 weeks ago. And so Office Depot is going through a huge transition, right? And so you have 1,400 stores. It's not a fast transition. If you go to like Austin, you'll find some of the really flagship stores where you could go in there and you'll have Workonomy where you can, you could sit down like we work, rent office space, have access to print services, have access to legal business services. That's really where the transition is going. And it's, and one of the things that they're leveraging right now is like if you go buy printer or whatever and you want something installed, it's going to be the CompuCom techs that are going to go out there and install it for them. CompuCom is really, really huge, and we do all the depots. Home Depot, we do Lowe's, Target. We're doing all that hardware. So Office Depot was our customer before they acquired us. And now they're basically taking all the technology and leveraging what we do. So some back office, but we're partnering with the business pros that sell those services through those office chains are now lead generation for my team.
So,
Not good lead generation, but lead generation. So what's the sweet spot for our service? When we originally started out, believe it or not, we were opening up stores. We call them Tech Zone. It was sort of like the Geek Squad for Best Buy. And we thought that was the way to go to market in the business. But we found that nobody brought their computers to us, right? And the stores were pretty much empty. So that wasn't a good idea. So then we decided, let's go out. And then we said, let's go after these small companies, 0 to 10 users. And as we started to realize that this became really more of our sweet spot between 20 and 150, because they're willing to pay money to keep their business up and running, and they're using the technology to be more efficient and be more productive. So 20 to 150 users is really where the sweet spot is for IT as a service. And like I'm working with a client right now that has 400 users, and they have a CIO and half of their IT department quit. And they found us on the website. He was a CIO of GE, and GE uses CompuCom for their outsourcing. So he was familiar with the brand, found us, called us, and we fit really nicely into even a little bit bigger companies when they want to keep a CIO, but they want to leverage us for the managed services and all the technology that we bring with it, instead of like hiring people and trying to keep. These companies can't keep track of when their technology contracts are up, their software contracts agreement are up, what operating system does what. They just can't keep up with all that stuff. You need a platform to be able to do that, and he recognizes what we can bring to the market and doesn't want to hire. So the 200 to 150, I say, is the sweet spot, but you could go below or above that. And what they usually look like is if they have 5 to 15 locations, that's better for us, because when you have one IT person and you have 5 locations, it's hard for them to get from one location to the other. So they leverage our 6,000 field techs that I mentioned earlier, so that becomes more valuable to them. And then, if they're highly dependent on computers, and if, like I put heavily regulated healthcare, go back to Benny's question, right, Benny? So if they're heavily regulated, they typically need somebody to manage their IT, make sure that that data is safe and secure. If they're currently unhappy with their current MSP, which we find a lot of now, because technology continues to shift and move fast, and the smaller MSPs can't keep up, and their model it's harder for their model to work. They can't, like if one customer all of a sudden is calling them a lot because they have a lot of problems, they can't scale to then support another customer. So they help one customer and then another customer doesn't get help. So those are some of the sweet spots. And then for Meraki as a service, as they get bigger, they have more network needs. That becomes more of a value. If they have 50 locations and they need to spend $50 for each one for Meraki's, that becomes a good sweet spot for you guys to make money. Once you get bigger than that, they typically are going to go with more enterprise-grade infrastructure that supports their needs better. Meraki only scales so far. And if they have lots of small locations like retail, that's fantastic. Prefer to use capital, not money. They prefer not to use capital. All right, prefer to use capital on business. On business, not on technology. And especially if they're ready for a tech refresh. Some of these people have networks that are 10 years old, and they just don't want to spend the money, but it gets to the point where they have to. Those are really good. Did that answer your question? Yeah? Okay. Do you want to do my next slide? What do you think? Come on. I think that's pretty much it on what the service is. I try to keep it simple and sweet and compact. So the next steps would really be to get with us and see if we can help your business. Great. Only you can determine whether or not we're a good fit for you guys, and we'd be happy to help you. So Kathy is our channel manager. As she mentioned, Jake's on my team, Roll's the SA, and we'll be happy to meet you after or at another time to help you guys figure out the next steps. And that's it. That's all I have.